Hello, it's me. It has been so long. I'm also trying to do like a separate audio thing, but I can't plug the audio into my camera, so I'm putting it on here. Anyway, hey, good to see everyone. I'm Sarah Baxley. Welcome to Pinkie the Bear. I'm kind of going with the flow and kind of just gonna start to maybe do videos and content and stuff a little bit different. So I'm just kind of play around with it. I've really been inspired the last month just to, I don't know, be a real human being and not a robot when I come up on here. So anyway, so that's kind of the latest. It was brought to my attention that when watching YouTube videos on the television that my audio was not up to par. So I am going to be experimenting with different audio stuff as well. Thank you, Dirk, for helping me out with that. But anywho, yeah. So welcome to February, everyone. Happy Black History Month. Yeah, January was a crazy month. It's so funny. I saw all these different memes that was like January was a great year, or like something about like happy, like, or it's like January 74th or like something like that. All these different things with the month of January, which is hilarious. And for those of you that saw the video last month that I did, I've now switched to doing astrology videos. I used to do them once a week, and I'm doing them once a month, and it's really funny because had you watched, yeah, I talked about how January was going to be one of the more intense months of the year with like two like back-to-back eclipses and just a whole bunch of different transits and stuff that were going on. So hopefully all of you are all doing well and ready for the month of February. So luckily February is not nearly as insane as the month of January was, thank goodness. It's definitely a little bit more of a mellow month. Yeah, but I still have, I wrote down a couple of the upcoming themes for February that I'm going to share with you. So, you ready? So the two upcoming themes for February, almost forgot what month we are. So the two upcoming themes for February are 1, creative flow, and 2, getting serious. All right, so, okay, so the two themes, creative flow and getting serious. So, you know, it's really funny because so many different times of the year, you know, and we have pop culture to thank for this, but there's kind of like this added emphasis on like, oh no, there's all of these planets that are retrograde and like, let's run for the hills and blame all of our problems on it. So in case you were wondering, all planets have been direct since the beginning of January. So if you're one of the people that's been blaming your problems on the planetary retrogrades, you might want to zip it up. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, so basically all planets are direct, both from January and February, and they will maintain that way or stay that way through the month of February. I think the first one to station retrograde, I believe, is Mercury on March 6th. Hold the phone. Let me check. March 5th. I was a day off. Okay, so March 5th, Mercury's the first one. But otherwise, all planets have been direct since January 6th. So that's like literally like 2 full months. So, you know, so basically what that indicates to me is that this is really like any events and things that are going on during these couple months. Any, you know, any ideas or change of pace or any type of progress and stuff that we're making during the month of January and the month of February just kind of, to me, I feel like have a little bit of an added weight. And, you know, so, you know, it's interesting. So we had kind of like these eclipses back to back in January, and I just want to do a quick review of that because in the month of January, you know, we had a solar eclipse the beginning of January, and those solar eclipses often are like super amped up new moons, right? Super intense new moons, and typically new moons signify kind of like more of like a new beginning or a new chapter. But in this case, the solar eclipse was conjunct the south node. So in order for us to kind of like move forward, you know, there had to be sort of like this purge and letting go that happens, which often is a lot of the themes that's wrapped around the lunar eclipse. And we also had a lunar eclipse that was actually visible throughout all the United States, in addition to South America and parts of Europe and parts of Africa. But, you know, lunar eclipses definitely signify endings, and that was on January 20th. So just really the month of January, the volume was turned up. There's a lot of different things that were happening. We were really being asked to let go. Mostly so that way we could make room, right? And it's beautiful because it was while all planets have been direct during that time. I mean, granted, Uranus stationed direct on the 6th, which I guess was the day after that first solar eclipse. But, you know, it's kind of, I almost think of it like when we go through these types of changes with all of these planets direct, I think that it adds a certain layer of presence and intention to kind of like this clearing way process. And it's funny, I definitely noticed it myself in my own personal life. You know, I don't know, for those of you that follow me on Instagram, which is the social media that I frequent the most. So if you're watching this and you've only seen me here on YouTube, then click over to Instagram. That tends to be my favorite social media to use to kind of keep in contact, using stories and stuff like that. So, but you know, I kind of went through and did the whole like purging of the house thing. It's funny, the like Marie Kondo, I think came up on Netflix. A lot of people are watching that, and I've already kind of been what I guess would be like a minimalist. I didn't really know that there was a word for it till a couple years ago. So I was already kind of in it. And then it's so beautiful because then that surfaced and that came up, and it's almost like really, truly, I mean, it was like astrology at play, right? Where all of us, you know, kind of like a lot of different people were kind of in this sort of purge mode and kind of like getting rid of stuff, which was very much symbolic for the month of January. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of take just a couple minutes to kind of like really honor that. So for those of you that kind of felt like January was a little bit of a wild ride, or maybe having to say goodbye to things that were a little bit difficult, I just want for you to know that you weren't alone, right? So let's hop into February, because February is a nice month for us to kind of catch our breath, right? Again, I said the themes of this month of February are creative flow and getting serious. And, you know, February is kind of like this nice little pocket month because March, there's definitely going to be a little bit of haziness around the month of March. There's going to be some communication mishaps, not only just from Mercury retrograde. We have Mercury retrograde in the sign of Pisces, which is not the strongest place. It's kind of like a not a very strong place for Mercury to be. So there tends to be a little bit more hiccups and stuff like that when we have a Mercury retrograde when a planet is in fall. So so just something to keep in mind. So really, you know, we've kind of let go of these things in January. We know that things are going to kind of shift and maybe have a little bit of a hazy element next month, in the month of March. So really February is kind of our month to really kind of buckle down and really get serious again while all planets are still direct, and really get serious about certain things that you want to move forward on. And, you know, it really, there's a lot of creativity, there is a lot of creative energy that goes on in the month of February as well. In fact, I even wrote down like really awesome creative days. So those creative days, like the awesome creative days for the month of February, are February 7th, February 11th, and February 20th are all really awesome creative days. Even February 14th, which I know is Valentine's Day for those of you that celebrate, but even that can be kind of a little bit of a creative day as well. Though there is like a little bit of a serious undertone to that day too. So, you know, so that's kind of just something to keep in mind. There's a couple challenging days in February. I mean, it's life, right? There's always going to be some ups and downs and stuff. So the couple challenging days I put to kind of keep in mind are February 10th, February 22nd, as well as the 26th and 27th. So those are also just days to jot down. There could be, I put hurt feelings or maybe misunderstandings on those days. There's just like, you know, just kind of a little bit of, in the same way that we kind of can like dream and kind of get into our creative state, that energy also can sometimes open up room for misinterpretations of stuff, right? Because we can kind of like let the mind wander. And it's mostly specifically for those whose natal charts are getting hit personally on those days. But again, creative days, February 7th, 17th, and 20th, And then the challenging or sensitive days are February 10th, 22nd, 26th, and 27th. So we have a new moon that kicks off. I'm launching this video today on February 4th. We have the new moon in Aquarius that kicks off today. So it's really kind of like embarking on a new chapter and like a fresh start in a way, right? The moon cycle for the month that begins at a new moon, peaks at a full moon, and then wanes down and kind of gets smaller to the next new moon. You know, those are kind of like little mini chapters, right? So we can kind of think of them as like little mini stories in our lives where we can sort of see actions and things start to take place and then slowly build momentum until we peak at the full moon, which in this case would be February 19th. And then it'll kind of wind down until we have the next new moon, which I think is in March 6th, which is the day after Mercury stations retrograde, but we won't get into March for right now. So anyway, so that's kind of it. So definitely just use this time, this month, to allow yourself to get creative, allow yourself to be playful, and really start to kind of buckle down and think about what are the things that are serious in your life, because this is almost like we can also, we had Capricorn just recently ingress into, Venus recently ingress into Capricorn, and it's going to slowly be going through this month and slowly be going through like the other lineup of planets that we have in Capricorn. It'll cross over the South Node more towards the end of the month, but it'll kind of just help us to kind of like gently still release all of the rest of the things that we were sort of asked to let go of during the eclipse season in the month of January. So February I see is like definitely a much more peaceful month, very creative, and just really kind of tapping into what's important and sort of being able to release that which is not, right? So that way, we can kind of like plan ahead for the month of March, which will have a little bit more of a hazy flavor to it. So anyway, so that's everything for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know I'm kind of like moving things around a little bit and kind of like playing with different content and stuff like that. So I really appreciate you joining me on this journey. And and if you're on Instagram, don't forget to find me there at pinkiethebear. And I'll see you around. So thanks again. Cheers.